Hello to you all, and welcome back to Conversations with Zalia. I'm your host, Zalia Lorraine, and this is the second week of our weekly recap of Tres Graças. As you all know, I've been watching Tres Graças through Global Play. This is my second week of watching, and in this recap, I'm pretty much going to recap everything that happened in the second week so far. And because there, considering there be important plot points and stuff, there will be a spoiler alert, so beware. Now, where we left off with the first week was Bagda, the drug dealer of Shakrina, catches up with Raul at his mansion where he lives. And Bagda pretty much tells Raul about his debt and pretty much forbids him from coming to Shakrina unless he pays the debt, which is reasonable. To be honest, since Raul is already a scumbag character. And to pretty much sum up Raul and Joelle's interactions with each other, it's just Raul pretty much telling the first interaction, Raul tells Joelle to abort their child, which is ignorant, and pretty much it's pretty much the same old. He doesn't want to take responsibility for the child and all that. So that's just sum up Tim and Joelle's interactions, making Joelle even more heartbroken. Then back at the elevator, Leo is still panicking with Vivian tries to help calm him. Viviani tries to help him calm him down, and pretty much he's all calm when his father shows up and chastises him for losing it, pretty much losing it when they get back home. And Leisha and Kellen, they wind up returning from the doctors because she went to Leisha, if you didn't remember, she underwent an exam because of her fading, and we later find out through the exam that the medicines there were no drugs in her system, meaning that she was taking the medicine she was taking was counterfeit, which we already knew due to Mizal losing his wife. Then with Jerlucy is at work when Gilmar, the bus driver dude that was flirting with her, contacts her, but Josefa, the lady she's taking care of, winds up answering on her behalf. I'm looking at my notes here. Then, in regards to Rivaldo, the doorman, whose name I forgot in the previous episode, Rivaldo, Rivaldo's wife, Aligi, comes home with her parents, Celio, and Chico, which will cause great tensions within the household since they are already treating them like his servant, with and pretty much overseeing, gossiping what's going on with Arminda or Doña Cobra, which I'll call her from now on, just for clarity. So that's their purpose in the storyline. Then, meanwhile, with back at the Ferrecci building, Vivi and Ferrecci they talk about the medicines, and Ferretti pretty much insists that the medicines are real, while low key threatening in his own way, threatening Vivi. Then while Larini is at the park, Larini winds up bumping into Maggie, an old friend of hers, and they wind up going out together. As you know, there's a lot of Renaissance of alumni in this novella. Like Zane Asensio is Joaquin, Then Ileana is the lead Mosina. Maggie is Rethina. Damiel is Bagda. I can go on. This novella really has a very stacked cast, by the way. And Gilmar still doesn't get the hint and pretty much visits Jalusi while she's leaving for work, trying to provoke her until Paulino came through and intervened. And she pretty much decides to get a ride from Paulino back to her home. And she pretty much becomes sprung, essentially singing in the shower, which catches the attention of her mother and daughter. And Jalusi and Joelle, they have one of their. She pretty much confronts Joelle for being suspicious since Joelle was chatting with Raul, but they pretty much make amends. Like, I swear, Joelle is probably going to start being an annoying character to me. I don't know if it's the way she written or the way she acts, but Joelle is pretty much will probably be annoying later on. You know how teen teen daughters or teen children are written in novellas, but I digress. But Rivaldo, I already stated that in regards to Rivaldo and his storyline, but Ferrucci pretty much chastises Leo over what happened in the elevator. And Freddy is pretty much your typical politically incorrect villain, pretty much chastising him over his masculinity and whatnot. And when his daughter Lorraine tells him about her friend Maggie, who has two dads, Joel and Casper, played by Samuel D. Assisi and Miguel Falabella, respectively, Richie makes a homophobic quip. Though Zanilda does hold a dinner party, which gets interrupted by tragic news that Casper receives. Pretty much, the tragic news in question was that Casper's brother died. He pretty much leaves to go to either Parana or Santa Catarina to pretty much console his niece Lucilia, who's another villain in this novella. And Lucilia pretty much is taken into the family home, and I would not be surprised if Lucilia was one that locked Maggie out when she went back home from the wake, which I'll explain later on. But I know that Lucilia would be a piece of work, so stay tuned for her. Meanwhile, and I'm sorry for the long pause. Meanwhile, with Ferrucci goes to Doña Cobra's house and they make soup, if you get what I mean. While Ferrucci is leaving from her house, he bumps into Gerlucy, and on her way, when she gets home, Viviani tells her about the counterfeit medicines, and she pretty much wants to expose whoever Ferrucci for the medicines. Though she warns them, she warns Gerlucy that it's dangerous to expose them since they don't have any concrete evidence to prove that the medicines are fake. And apparently in real life there is a system in Brazil that determines whether or not counterfeit medicines are fake, which could make this plot line easily solvable. But then again, considering the fact a lot of fictional TV shows don't use real life logic, of course they would make certain situations that are easily solvable a lot more difficult, if you get what I'm saying. Then the next day, Jerlisi has a crazy day at work with the first thing to happen. First, she winds up bumping into Jomar and refuses his ride. Second, Josefa, when Doña Cobra tried to choke her mother out, Josefa ran to the guy hit in the street while yelling that her daughter is trying to kill her, which she really was trying to kill her, which leads to Lucy putting her in bed. And then third, she breaks a vase, overhearing Ferrecci and Doña Cobra back bragging about the fake medicines, catching their suspicion in the process. And she pretty much vows to pretty much pay for the lamp while Ferrecci becomes more suspicious of her, going so far as to have his henchman Macedo follow her around just to get dirt on her. Then with the Miss Sally and Joaquin storyline, Miss Sally pretty much wants Ferrecci in jail for what happened when has Joaquin act as his little spy, which with Hakeem looking over the Ferrecci pharmacy where he gets a drug for I don't it was either a headache drug or a muscle relaxer for from Viviani, which Misal uses, and while Joaquin is getting food, he sees Kellen and Joelle, which prompts a flashback which they used AI for, which they shouldn't have used AI for that flashback because in fact during Pais and Marcos Palmera they still look youthful. But in the flashback, Lesia is trying to convince Joaquin to attend Joelle's baptismal, which he declines. And pretty much returns to Misal telling that he saw nothing. As I don't want to know what the heck. I want to know what's up with Joaquin, or why he doesn't want to be a parent or want to step up to be a parent, or why he's not a family man. And I wonder, will the novella explain to us why? I because I want to know what's up with him. Because in my opinion, I know almost every single male character in this novella is trash, but he's the least trash in comparison to Raul. Just my opinion. Did we get introduced to a new character named Junior who works at the gallery as a programmer, and Junior has a father named Albano who is has respiratory problems. And before he goes to work, he goes to the pharmacy to pick up some drugs for his father from Viviani. And when he returns home from work, he finds his father deceased, which is a very heartbreaking scene. And he pretty much calls Kellen, who's at church service where her father, Pastor Alberico, about what happened with his dad. And they decide to hold a wake, which is attended by everyone in the neighborhood, including Legia, Gerlusi, and Viviani. While at the wake, Michelle arrives, who everyone thought he died, and pretty much explained what happened, telling him how he's been taking shelter from Michelle and his suspicion about the drugs. Like the whole episode is dedicated to the wake. Most of the episode is dedicated to the wake, and which also gets attended by Baghdad, who a few episodes earlier tried to big red one of his henchmen, if you get the reference. But for those that don't get the reference, if you watch the movie The Five Heartbeats, Big Red dangled. I forgot his name. I forgot the name of the dude, but he dangled Bird. That was his name. He dangled Bird over a balcony because he wanted to discuss his royalties. Because he wanted to discuss his royalties, and he told him that his office hours were from 9 to 5, and when he didn't listen, he dangled him over a bakery. So that was I was referring to. But when Baghdad pretty much encounters Maggie, and at the funeral, he pretty much leaves the funeral afterwards, paying in his way, paying his respects. During the wake, Jalusi takes the opportunity to tell Vivi that she believes Ferrecci. She knows Ferrecci is connected to those fake medicines, but Vivi tells her that they can't prove it, or else it'll be dangerous for them to prove it. Then the next day, Jalusi she goes to work while unknowingly being staked by Ferrucci's men. And while on her way from work, she encounters Gilmar's wife, who she goes to the cafe with. And pretty much, Jerlucy tells her side of the story, saying that she and Gilmar, they weren't having an affair, which makes Gilmar's wife cry. And the week's episode concludes with Miss Al having a chat with Joaquin about justice, and that's the end of my recap. Like, in regards to my thoughts, the episode's getting good so far. They're introducing new characters, new plot lines. Raul is still Basura, and I can't wait what's next for the third week. It was nice chatting, recapping with y'all. Until then, bye bye.